Welcome to everyone joining this short talk about the process involved in declaring a miraculous cure. Following the apparitions in February 1858, hundreds of people claimed miraculous cures, and in July of that year, the Bishop of Lourdes commissioned an inquiry to investigate the alleged miracles. The commission collected evidence from local notable people, from parishioners in mountain villages who gave their accounts to their parish priests, and many doctors were also interviewed. The commission reported 4 years later, in 1862, and concluded that the cures were the work of God, that there was a close relationship between the cures and the apparitions, that the apparitions were divine, since the miraculous cures carried the mark of divinity. The decree confirming the Lourdes apparitions was signed on the 18th of January 1862. On the same day, Monsieur Lawrence, Bishop of Tarbes and Lourdes, declared that 7 cures among the hundreds examined were miraculous. The following year, the Medical Bureau was established so that anyone who thought they had been cured would not leave Lourdes before submitting the story of their cure for examination. In a sanctuary such as Lourdes, it is to be expected that some pilgrims may believe they have benefited from an exceptional cure. Indeed, since the apparitions in 1858, Lourdes has dealt with more than 7,000 cases of unexplained cures, and 70 have been recognised as miraculous by the Church at this time. One of the first cures to be confirmed was the cure of Catherine Latippi. She was born in 1820 and lived near Lourdes. She had injured her right hand after a fall, and as a consequence of damaged nerves, her hand was paralysed. On the night of the 28th of February, 1858, she had a sudden impulse to go to Lourdes. Waking her 2 small children, she arrived in Lourdes at dawn and met Bernadette and went to the grotto to pray. She bathed her hand in the spring, and immediately her hand was restored to normal. Another of the first cures was that of Louis Bourriette, a stonemason of Lourdes. During 1830, he had lost the sight of one eye in an explosion. The scar tissue that formed over the eye caused extreme pain apart from the loss of sight. He was unable to work, and the pain was so severe that he had a mental breakdown. In March 1858, he bathed his eyes in the spring at the grotto and regained his full sight. The Medical Bureau has an office in the sanctuary where there is a resident practicing doctor. Currently, this is Dr. Alessandro de Franciscis, who was appointed in 2009. He can be seen every day in his office in the Bureau or at the Blessed Sacrament procession. It is this doctor who receives the declaration. If the case seems to be serious, he convenes a bureau or meeting to discuss the clinical case. All doctors and healthcare workers present in Lourdes at that time can attend this meeting. This is why every healthcare professional is asked to sign the ledger in the bureau on arrival in Lourdes. Today, most of the doctors and healthcare professionals coming to Lourdes are members of the International Medical Association. This is not just for doctors, but nurses, physios, pharmacists, and other allied healthcare professionals. Members wear a small badge with a coloured cross on a white background, with the words Credo underneath. The colour of the cross is different for each group of healthcare professionals. The investigation of a cure is a lengthy process. It begins, as I have said, with a spontaneous and voluntary declaration made to the Bureau by the person claiming to have been cured, thanks to the intercession of Our Lady of Lourdes. The specialists of the International Medical Committee decided to put this process into 3 stages. The medical officer of the Medical Bureau gathers all the possible information from the person claiming to have been cured. This requires information on the current state of health and also an assessment of the person's personality in order to rule out any attempt to make false claims through acting or hysteria. The medical officer has to judge if the cure is beyond the normal progress of the illness in question, note the circumstances of the cure itself, and verify that it happened according to extraordinary, unforeseen, or remarkable conditions. The claim will either be left at this stage or registered as an unexpected cure to be investigated further. If further investigations are needed, the bishop of the diocese where the person lives will be informed that this cure is subject of further inquiry. The bishop can appoint a local doctor to join the inquiry. The next stage involves studying the medical records before and after the cure. This is to ensure that there was a clear change from a precise medical diagnosis to restored health. This part of the investigation may involve options from worldwide specialists to ensure that the cure is completely out of character with the development of the illness. This stage will conclude with presentation of the case at a meeting of the specialists of the International Committee. They will decide whether there is to be no further follow-up or if they are in a position to validate the cure after thorough discussion. The process then moves on to the 3rd and final stage, when the committee affirms the exceptional character of the cure according to present scientific knowledge. The file is then sent to the Bishop of Tarbes and Lourdes and to the Bishop of the diocese where the person lives. The cure is judged according to the Lambertini criteria. This was established by Cardinal Lambertini, who later became Pope Benedict XIV in 1734. The cure must be found to be complete and lasting, from a serious illness which is incurable or have a very poor prognosis, and that it happened in a sudden way. The confirmation of the miracle is announced by the bishop where the person who was cured lives. On July the 22nd, 2013, the Bishop of Pravia declared that the 69th miracle had occurred in Lourdes. Mrs. Daniela Castelli had had a fairly normal life until 1980. At the age of 34, she began to develop episodes of dangerously high blood pressure. These episodes became more frequent and defied investigation. She underwent several operations to remove fibrous tumours, but without any benefit and without a diagnosis being made. She was prescribed many medicines, but they failed to stop these episodes. Finally, in 1983, she was found to have a very unusual tumour called a pheochromocytoma, which releases chemicals causing these dangerous spikes in blood pressure. None of the treatments seemed to be effective, and Mrs. Castelli's husband wanted to take her to the world-famous Mayo Clinic in America. However, in May 1989, Mrs. Castelli decided she wanted to go to Lourdes. Coming out of the baths, she knew she was well, as she was aware of an extraordinary feeling of well-being. Her husband was waiting for her, sitting on the wall opposite the baths, and as soon as he saw her, he said, "I know that everything now has passed. I know that everything is behind us." Mrs. Castelli had no further episodes of raised blood pressure. A short while later, she reported her cure to the Medical Bureau. Meetings were held in 1989, again in 1992, 1994, and 1997, before the final meeting in 2010. There were more than 100 doctors and nurses present at this meeting, and after a lengthy and passionate debate, with only one abstention, it was agreed that the cure could not be explained by medical knowledge, was complete and lasting, and had happened suddenly. The Lambertini criteria had been met. The most recent miracle was declared 5 years later, on the 11th of February 2018. Sister Bernadette Murillo was cured on the 11th of July 2008, when she joined her diocesan pilgrimage to Lourdes, and has been officially recognised as the 70th miracle attributed to the intercession of Our Lady of Lourdes. Sister Bernadette was born in 1939 in the north of France. When she was 19 years old, she joined the convent and trained as a nurse. 1 year after she qualified, at the age of 27, she began to suffer from back pain. She underwent 4 operations and had other medical treatments as well, but the pain progressed and there was no improvement. And in 1975, she had to give up nursing. Gradually, her condition worsened. The nerves in her back were affected. She had to wear a corset all the time and became confined to a wheelchair. Walking had become nearly impossible. She lost control of her bladder and bowel and had her left foot become bent, requiring her to wear a splint as well as a corset. She made the difficult journey to Lourdes and returned home in more pain and exhausted. However, on the 11th of July 2008, at the time the Blessed Sacrament procession was taking place in Lourdes, she felt an unusual sensation of calm and warmth spreading through her whole body. She heard an inner voice asking her to get rid of the corset and the splint. Her foot had straightened, and she could move it. She regained control of her bladder and bowel. She no longer needed the powerful pain medication. She reported her cure to the medical bureau, and meetings to discuss this cure were held in 2009, 2013, and again in 2016. At the annual meeting of the specialists of the International Medical Committee in November 2016, they confirmed an unexplained healing within the current limits of scientific knowledge. Again, the Lambertini criteria were met, and in February 2018, the miraculous cures was declared. If you have the opportunity to visit the medical bureau, there are often displays relating to the cures. One of these that has been on display is the cure of Vittorio Mitchelly in 1963. In 1962, he was diagnosed with a particularly destructive malignant tumour of his left hip. His deterioration was relentless, and X-rays confirmed the total destruction of the hip. He joined his diocesan pilgrimage in June 1963. His health improved, his pain was reduced, and he was able to walk. X-rays then showed the remarkable reconstruction of his hip. In 1976, 13 years after the cure, the miraculous healing was confirmed. However, miracles such as these are just the tip of the iceberg in Lourdes. I am sure each one of us has many memories of personal miracles that keep us returning. I do hope to see as many of you as possible in 2021, but be sure you will be in our thoughts and prayers, even if it is not possible for you to be there in person.